Hello, everybody, and welcome to AIMBOT and My Morally Bankrupt or Them. And first off the bat, I do want to say I have something that I do want to talk about that in the first part. Um, Aside from the usual ranting and raving, I my heart was broken this weekend, and I will be showing some depictions of violence and guns, being the Bondi shooting that occurred within Australia. So I want to talk about that and share with you how I feel, share with you everything that has occurred to me, and just as an Australian, what I'm going through, and what I feel like is happening on my end. I can't speak for much. I feel like that I don't know enough about the motivations of these people. I don't know enough about them, but um, from what I've seen. So I'm gonna throw up, for at least for the start, just a sort of disclaimer. So if you are triggered by these kind of events, or if you're sensitive to these kind of events, I completely understand this may not be the right stream for you, because I want to talk about this, and that is the largest mass shooting in Australia since 1996, I believe it is. So a good 30 years or so, right? So last one was Port Arthur in Tasmania. Um, I I yeah, I my heart's broken. My heart is broken. 15 people died, including one 10-year-old girl, and that is terrible. That's absolutely terrible, and it's I get, so an American may go, hey, this happens all the time. Not here. This is so out of the ordinary, so unusual, so unheard of, and so against everything that Australia is to me, that it's just horrible. It's horrible. um and my heart goes out to the entire community at Bondi. Um, I think there were two shooters. One was killed, so that brings the death toll up to 16, including one of the shooters. But who cares about that guy? But this was a terrorist attack, and um, I think that in Australia we've been sort of very lucky to not have to deal with the threat of terrorism very much. We've sort of been um, not coddled about it, but we're just, we are reminded of how lucky we are that we don't have to deal with terrorism, that much at all. Um, wow, stop the stupidity. Thank you so much. And stop the stupidity is giving me time to collect my thoughts, because this was absolutely awful. Um, but thank you so much, STS. 5 readerships. They go out to Ninjester, Cold Derv, E Saint 9, Kent Speak 465, and Mark T. Atkinson. I realize those aren't. I don't feel like this is the kind of stream. It's a bit too somber to be doing the yell outs kind of thing. So I hope you'll forgive me, STS. I hope you'll forgive me. Um, all those people just sort of relaxing. And Bondi Beach is a very, very popular spot. It's very, 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 very popular. It's it's just such a waste, and just a horrible thing. I really, okay, so I know I'm not saying a lot here. Okay, so um what did they think they were going to accomplish? What did they think they were going to get out of this? These are just Jewish Australians. They don't really have, I think one was a Jewish national, so a person from Israel, like an Israeli national, I should say. Like what were they expecting out of this? Like, if anything, we're more sympathetic to the Israelis at the moment because of this. And there has been anti Semitism rising, and it's not right. I think that I have two thoughts on it. This anti Semitism that's coming up is horrific. It's horrific. The average Jewish people are not attacking the people in Palestine. They're not wanting the people in Palestine to be destroyed. A lot of them are protesting what's happening to the people in Palestine, and you attack them wantonly just because they're Jewish. What were you hoping to accomplish? So upon learning on this, you know, I know that this is going to be touted as oh, look how multiculturalism fails. Look, when I went out over the last couple of days, I smiled at my neighbors. I said hello. I wanted to embrace everybody I saw. And if you think this is going to make some sort of point and some sort of thing about these people, some kind of Darwinistic thing, it's not going to, because everybody is coming together over this. This is one of the worst things to happen in our country for quite some time. But I want to focus on some of the good, and it breaks my heart that you're attacking a Hanukkah celebration with on one of the most crowded beaches, and let's face it, there was a ton of Muslims around as well, because unlike these extremists, most Muslims can watch a Hanukkah celebration and not get angry about it. It's absolutely reprehensible, and I none of them deserved it. None of them deserved it. Absolutely awful. But how do I feel? I feel proud of the way that Australians reacted. I feel proud of our people. There was some real heroes out there, and you may know this, you may not know this, what you're talking about, but there's definitely some heroes, and I want to thank Justin, who's in the audience. Thank you so much, Justin. He sent me over a video that was quite good. I'll show it. Right, and I want to put up my caption here, just because, yeah. So yeah, just this does have depictions of violence, so if you are sensitive, please be aware of that. So the shooters, they're firing from the bridge. One of them goes down the bridge. This is the father. Now, the two were a father and son. Obviously, they've been radicalized, but I think that the father was originally from India, not a Middle Eastern country. India is sort of Western Asian, so they were radicalized, and we know that they were doing a terror attack because they put ISIS, an Islamic State, homemade Islamic State flag on the car that they drove in with. They actually put the flag on there, so we know this is a ISIS inspired or ISIS funded terror attack. And it's horrible that the son goes to no, he has an Indian passport, Beamsy, not Pakistan. The son basically follows a Muslim cleric who is very anti-Semitic, and it's this kind of hate speech is absolutely terrible. But anyway, the father goes down, and that's an overview of the bridge that they were on. So he goes over there to get closer to the park. And this is Ahmed Al Ahmed. He is a fruit grocer, All right, this is the hero of the thing, but not the only one, and I want to make that clear. But he's just an average everyday grocer, just a fruit seller that jumped in here, and he got wounded. He took a couple of rounds. He will be fine apparently, but what a guy. Um, Ahmed, sorry, Ahmed Al Ahmed. I'll just skip to it. So this is the stuff that's going viral. He basically wrestled the gun off the guy. So that's when the son runs over and provides covering fire to him. So he runs over. But you can see in the background, there's people still like coming in. If you look up here, there's some guy up here, right? He's coming in to help. There was another person that came in this way to help. Just amazing stuff, really. So he sort of goes back. Sorry, it's got a few interruptions in it, and then he goes back up the thing, and then rejoins his son, and then they sort of fire off this bridge. I would imagine they would probably have selected the bridge for its cover. You know, be able to do that. So I'm not going to show you where the police killed them, but the police actually shot the father first. The father fell down dead. He was shot and killed. The son was wounded and eventually collapsed. Now, the police weren't the first ones up here. This guy was. He went up to check. He's just some random civilian, okay? He's just some random-ass civilian going up to check kind of thing. And he's signaling for the police to say, hey, they're down, they're down. See, this guy now runs up. Now, this guy, he's also just a civilian, but he is wearing black. So he does look like one of the perpetrators, which, you know, it is a risk if you're in a like shooting thing. So he puts his hands up to say that he's not a threat. The police, they take a pot shot at him, right? Like you see him duck, they took a pot shot at the poor guy, right? So he ducks because a shot rang out. They thought he was a terrorist, and you've got to be aware of that. Running into a situation like that, you know, that might happen to you. So after that, and then a fight breaks out on the bridge, right? So apparently one of the people was mistaken for a perpetrator. He was grabbed. Now, I want to see this because I want to point something out. So watch this guy here, right? This man here, and the perpetrators being like placed on the ground over here. Watch this. Watch what happens, because it is probably the most Australian thing I've ever seen. Yeah, he goes for the good old kick. He goes for the good old footy kick right in the head of the guy. Look, okay, so you know, I can't be that sympathetic for the perpetrator. He probably deserved it. I bet the police didn't see it, you know, right in front of them. Oh, nobody saw that guy put the boot into this absolute prick that unloaded on people. Look, and then a fight breaks out, kind of thing. Okay, and that's Anthony Albanese, the Prime Minister. And he's talking about stuff. I will talk about the consequences and what I think is going to happen. But you know, here's the thing. You know, people were like, "Oh, a fight broke out." Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think if the police weren't there, the son would not have made it to jail. He would have been basically stomped out. I think that the police needed to restrain the Australians, which is sort of emblematic of Australians. We're pretty laid back and chill until we're not. And if you know anything about Australians, when they're not chill, they're very, very unchill. Um, I can't say I blame anybody. Like there's people there who had kids at the event. People there. I mean that guy Ahmed Al Ahmed who tackled that guy and took his gun away like an absolute chad. He had 2 daughters. He knew what was at risk, and he jumped in to help people he didn't know. He jumped in to help fellow humans. And I cannot think of anything more Australian than that. That is what we do. That is what we do. If the reason why I will jump in to help you is because I know you will do the same for me. And they weren't the only ones. They weren't the only ones. So I want to point out there was a tackle earlier at the very, very start. Most people don't know this, but there was actually Boris and Sophia Gurman, and they were killed at the thing. They're Jewish. And when they saw, I had it a second ago, when they saw a car with an ISIS flag and men getting out, they jumped out of their car and tackled one of the guys. Right? These random people. Let me have a look. I had it a second ago. Yep, very distressing comment. So we see here, and I might slow it down actually. So this is when their car first pulled up. Okay, the guy grabs the gun and moves away, but there is another shooter there. So they were disarmed once before by this guy, and this is Boris Gurman. Unfortunately, him and his wife were killed at the scene. And you can see there is the ISIS flag, a homemade ISIS flag. But you can see there's people over here. There's people wandering by. There's more people down the street. If you see the full footage, you can see as he tackles him. I'll just point this out and sort of keep your eye on about that region. See, there's people. I'm not sure I can show it, but there's people everywhere when Boris Gurman grabbed the gun out of the guy, and I wanna talk about this because I wouldn't blame anybody for running, right? Like I would never blame anybody for running ever. It's a scary situation. You're in danger and stuff, but people that decide to put their lives on the line. And my condolences go out to the Gurmans. My heart is broken for you. These were good people. They were Australians. They were mates. They were mothers. They were grandmothers, grandfathers. They were friends. They were everything to the people around them. And my heart goes out to them. And the only thing I can offer is the solemn and admiring gratitude that they saved lives. If he did not grab that gun, there were tons of people. hang on a second. I'll show it again. There's tons of people round there. In whoops, sorry, it's because I'm full screen. Hold it. There's tons of people in this area right here. Right, we know there's a person with a camera. We know there's more people around. This was selfless bravery from these two. Absolutely selfless bravery. And I can't bring them back, but they saved lives. And it begs the question, you know, if you lay down your life for others, if you take that chance and put yourself in danger for others, these people should be celebrated because they really did blunt the attack. They really did. They really did. And of course, Ahmed Al Ahmed, Ahmed, yeah, Ahmed Al Ahmed, who, and I think I've got another thing of it. Um, Hey, look at this guy. He creeps behind the car. He sees that he's distracted. I mean, this is an absolute champion.
Oh! C'est un malade! Oh non, gros! Oh! Ouais, mais il y a son pote, il va se faire tirer dessus!
But keep in mind, it wasn't just him. You have another guy running in when he sees there's an opportunity. It's
Oh! Oh! Ouais, mais il y a son pote, il va se faire tirer dessus!
Don't forget, there's another shooter up at the bridge, and these guys are just running in.
Il est trop con, le mec qui a l'arme!
Now, Ahmed was shot, and yeah, he's from Syria. He's a Syrian immigrant. He is a Syrian immigrant. He is an immigrant to this country, and showed the values which Australians hold dear. You protect your mates. You protect your mates. What a guy. I salute him. I salute the Germans as well. They protected their mates. Absolutely amazing people, and my heart goes out to the family. You might not know this, but a whole bunch of surf lifesavers ran into the area to treat people because they had first aid experience. There was one lifesaver who he saved two people in the water while gunshots were going out. Like, he actually ran into the surf, swam out to two people, and rescued them while this was going on. The heroism shown by these people is insane, and I could not be prouder of everything they're doing. I could not be prouder. And it breaks my heart. It absolutely breaks my heart. Is Ahmed a Christian? Not that I heard. No, he's a Syrian-born Muslim. Yeah, Ahmed apparently, like, later, Ahmed reportedly told a relative, "Allah Almighty gave me the courage." It doesn't really matter. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. But I wanna also sort of talk about people that came from everywhere. Um, the sort of courage that comes. I don't care where it comes from. I appreciate the person. Their actions are worth more than their religion. And he said that he didn't see Jewish people or Muslim people or white people or brown people. He just saw people. He just said he saw people dying. That's all that matters. That's all. Like, he just saw people. We're all just people, and I really love that he did that. This is also Abdullah Ashraf. He's a guy that sort of drove into the scene to help people on the ground.
Impossible for someone to even accept that something like this happened right down in our own backyard. And Australia is such a safe country. Everyone feels safe. Everyone feels welcome. The Australian way that we all talk about, that is acceptance. The acceptance in Australia is the Australian way. And I think in times like these, we all have to stick together as a community and get through this together, help each other, support each other, make each other feel safe. And I think a beautiful demonstration of that was yesterday and today when I went back to the scene. Yesterday, I cannot express how randomly people were just asking each other. I was just running throughout the crime scene, and random people would stop me and ask me because I had blood on my hands and on my forehead. And random people would stop me and ask me, "Are you okay? Everything will be fine." And I would do the same. I'd see someone who's crying and I'd just stop them and I'd be like, give them a hug, that it's going to be okay. You got to be strong. And similarly, today I walked in to the corner of Bondi, and so many people came up to me and they were like, "We saw your interview, and are you okay? Did you sleep well at all?" And we were doing the same for each other. And I think it is so important that we get through this as a community. Because I told someone yesterday and I told someone today, everyone's asked me, "Why did you stop your car? Why did you go in?" And of course, me being a Muslim, when I stopped my car and when I got out, I don't see Jews, Muslims, Christians. I see human beings. And I am a human being. And I think we're humans first. So it is our job, it is our basic responsibility to help people, to help fellow human beings. And I think that's what the community and the principles and the values are all about. Get through this together.
Yeah, and this guy, yeah, absolutely. I really I wanted to show that because I couldn't express it any better. He stopped not because it was Muslims or Jews or Christians or it was human beings. And I hope in the same situation, I would have the bravery to do the same. I hope that I would have the bravery to help people, whatever that means, and save lives. You know, you never know until you're put in that situation. I hope I would have the bravery to do the same. But you know, I think what this sort of shows, and I'll sort of go into the aftermath and how I feel about it. I feel like, you know, if you're a terrorist in Australia, you've got like you are not going to tear people apart by this kind of fucking nonsense. You will not. I felt closer to my fellow Australians over the last 2 days because this happened. You know, and if anybody's upset, I'll be like, are you doing okay? You know, this really is going to bring us together. So I don't know what the fuck you were trying to do. Because if you think we're suddenly going to drop our values because some, you know, extremist dickhead thinks that they're going to bring the trouble in the Middle East to Australia, think again. Think again. Australians are, let's say, we're not risk averse. I'll put it that way. It's not like we do wild and uncontrollable things. We do try to keep it reasonable, but this country has a fair amount of danger in it. Like, just from the desert terrain, the snakes, the spiders and stuff, it's not as bad as what we play up. But there's risks, right? You know that every time you swim in the ocean, there is a non-zero probability that you will get bitten by a shark. Like, it's not zero. It happens to people. But, you know, you probably have a better chance of getting hit by traffic crossing the road, right? Like, these dangers are all around us, but, you know, we accept doing some things and we accept the risk. And, you know, these people, they knew the risk and they went anyway, and I could not be prouder of them. I wouldn't recommend anybody do that. I completely understand if it's too much or it's too dangerous, completely understand. But if you take on that risk knowing it, you are a hero in my eyes. I don't care what anybody says. These people are heroes. They're my countrymen. They saw other humans being ended and they stepped up. I've never seen anything like this. People running in, attacking with nothing in their hands, people with guns. And I'm heartbroken for the families of those people. Absolutely heartbroken. Don't get me wrong. But I'm proud of what they've done. I'm proud that if you bring that shit here, you've got to deal with just pure Australian belligerence. Just pure, you know, stubbornness to back down. And, you know, that there's something Australian about that as well. And all of the people that ran in, all of the people that ran in are heroes. Absolutely. There were so many of them willing to put their lives on the line to save people. Just people. And I hope that if ever I'm in that situation, I'm that brave as well. I hope that I find the courage as well, no matter what the consequences. And it's a hard thing to talk about because sometimes the consequences is your life ending. And I enjoy my life. I like my life. I don't want it to end. But at the same time, if I can delay somebody and save 5 people, would you do it? I hope I would have the courage to do so. I really hope I'd have the courage to do so. And I think a lot of Australians feel the same, especially, you know, those people with mates around them. Your mates are people you would risk your life for, absolutely. And it's a very Australian thing. I cannot explain it to you. Your mates are ride or die. I think it's sort of mateship is something that it's something that came from the convict era, something, you know, of all the people desperately try to survive in work gangs in the outback in scorching heat that they weren't used to, and they looked after one another, and that has flowed on into being Australian. You don't desert your mates. You don't let them suffer. You do whatever you can to help your mates. And I cannot explain to you how proud I am of these people that they saw people in trouble and just acted. Now, I want to address a few things. Um, People said the police froze, kind of thing, that they were standing around doing nothing. I don't know the truth of that. I only heard it from one sort of old bearded guy. I don't know if he was, I don't know if they were worried about hitting civilians firing back. I don't know. I'm going to have to leave it for the investigation. It can be very confusing in these kind of situations as to what's going on, as we saw with the most Australian thing ever of people, right after a horrendous, unconscionable, terrorist attack, get into a punch up at the end. Australians, am I right? But it can be really confusing, and obviously people were confused about what was happening. One guy wanted to end one of the terrorists right there, and I can't say I blame him. However, the police did their jobs. I don't know if they froze or not. I would say they're not used to dealing with situations like this. It's very easy to forget that, we don't have sort of, the police encountering guns every day of the week. Like, rarely are they encountered. And I will get to the whole gun issue in a bit. I will get to that. But, I don't know if they did. I will leave that to the inquiry. Of course, there's going to be a massive inquiry as to what happened. And that brings us to, how the hell did these guys get their hands on so many guns? Now, people have sort of said they had semi-automatic rifles. They did not. They weren't semi-automatic rifles. They were bolt action, and you can see that in one of the things. They had bolt action rifles and shotguns, right? So that's what they had. They were just firing it very fast. Now, stuff that I have learnt is that it was a father and son, of course. They actually had those guns legally. So they had a permit for them under a hunting license, I believe. So Class A and B firearms under a hunting license. And, with the son's connections to some of the more anti-Semitic Muslim preachers in Sydney, because they are out there, I wonder how, somebody has dropped the ball, and sort of the anti-terrorism squad actually looked into them in 2019 or so. I believe it was 2019, and sort of said there's no evidence to see that they're radicalized. So something dropped the ball there. And, why somebody can have so many weapons is kind of beyond me. I don't understand it. Not only that, but the reason why we know that they had Indian passports is because they actually took a trip to the Philippines, and allegedly, I don't know if this is true, this is just what I've read online, which can be true or can be false. Allegedly, they took a course of some sort, which was sort of a shooting course. So they prepared for this. There was a lot of preparation that went into this. I don't know how this ended up, like how they didn't get checked up on, why that didn't raise any flags, but the restrictions need to be tightened so that if, somebody goes overseas, if somebody, hasn't been looked in on. But I do realize it's very easy for me to go, oh, the anti-terrorism unit just dropped the ball. They're terrible. They're horrible. I don't know that's the case. Sometimes these things can't be prevented. If people are willing to relinquish their lives in the perpetration of these acts, I'm not sure what you can do to stop them, except for, more stringent gun control and things. And people are sort of saying, and it's people are sort of saying, and it's really frustrating to see. Okay, couple of things. Number one, Look, I feel for the Jewish people, and I know that the community will find solace in their faith. However, somebody did a speech at the memorial that was held, the vigil that was held, people placing flowers and all of that kind of thing. He did a speech which sort of referenced that Australia was a Judeo-Christian country. And look, I understand he's grieving. My heart bleeds for him. I find myself very, very empathic on what he's going through. But this is not a Judeo-Christian country. I'm sorry, it's not. It's a country of everybody. It's a country with Muslims. It's a country with Christians. It's a country with Jews, atheists, Buddhists, spiritualists, everything. Like we can't just say, this is now our country. No, it's nobody's country. We belong to the country. The country doesn't belong to us. Okay, get that right. The country doesn't belong to anybody. We belong to it. And that's sort of a very native Australian perspective. Nobody owns the country owns you. From their history as hunter-gatherers and tribesmen, that's their perspective. But it worries me. And it worries me. The other thing is that Bibi Netanyahu sort of comes out and says the Australian government didn't crack down on anti-Semitism. It's all anti-Semitic. Look, I am not taking advice from a guy with that much blood on his hands. Like, he is a war criminal. He's a wanted war criminal. I am not listening to somebody that is responsible for the deaths of so many Palestinian people. So many. Like, seriously, no. Like, that was rude what he did. Just go out and say, hey, the government should crack down on anti-Semitism. And I want to talk about this because anti-Semitism is a thing. Nobody's saying it's not. I saw the marches where there were frigging neo-Nazis in front of anti-Semitism is absolutely a thing. But criticizing the nation of Israel is not the same as anti-Semitism. Okay, it's not. And we can't just go, well, because Jewish people were attacked in the most vicious and cowardly way, then that gives license for Israel to destroy the Palestinian people. No. This is wrong. All human suffering is wrong. It's not right. And so Bibi Netanyahu should butt out and concentrate on himself. And also, he doesn't like the Australian government because it's not a right-wing conservative government like his own. And he should just butt out because he is a war criminal as far as I'm concerned. So I don't want to swear, but he can go fuck himself, quite frankly. Like, seriously, criticizing our government for what it's done. Yeah, that's right. But at the same time, there is anti-Semitism out there, and we must fight it with everything we've got. Not Jewish people are not in control of all of your things. They don't have space lasers. They don't have all of these things. They're not the villains of this story. Their community has been victimized by horrendous terrorists. So yeah, anti-Semitism is definitely something that's got to be cracked down on. But that doesn't mean you can't criticize Israel. Justin has a question. I was going to get to this, Justin. Someone who argues it could have been avoided if the public had guns as well. So, no. No. So, we're talking about a day at the beach, right? I don't know who goes to the beach with guns. I don't know who does that. But usually, you have your bathers on, board shorts or bikini or whatever, and or speedos. You got the old budgie smugglers, and you go down the beach, maybe a tote bag or a small bag or something. Who is packing firearms to go down the beach? And it was a children's, so it was Chanukah by the Sea. It was Chanukah by the Sea, which was a festival for children. You don't want to take guns towards there. And I will do want to point out that at the end of it, right? Like at the end, you had Australians get into a fist fight because people were mistaking other people for perpetrators. Okay, imagine what would have happened if a lot of people were armed. I cannot see that ending well. And perhaps I don't think this could have been avoided. Could it have ended sooner if everybody had guns? Possibly. But the deaths we've avoided in the 30 odd years since the Port Arthur massacre, I don't think that's worth it. Like, you can't take this in isolation. You have to say, okay, would less deaths have happened in this case if there were guns? And how many deaths do we offset with everybody having guns throughout the country and Australians drinking too much and getting into a fist fight? Well, imagine if guns are then involved. We're really talking about, to say in isolation, it would have been ended sooner if everybody had guns. Maybe, maybe not, maybe there would have been more friendly fire. We don't know. Maybe, you could be right. But does that offset the thousands and thousands of deaths from guns that occur when everybody is armed and worried about everybody else having guns? No. So I think that is sort of, it is not taking into account the entire consequences of sort of arming everybody. It's not. Somebody had a good point. Andrew says, no, the gun who stopped the one person didn't have a gun. Correct. Yeah, and that's true. One by land, two by sea. If carrying guns stop shootings, America would never have one. And we have to weigh up certain, this was terrible, and a 10-year-old died, and it is so horrible, but we still haven't had a school shooting. Okay? I often point out it is horrific to me that backpacks are available for children. Backpacks are available for children with Kevlar in them so they can be protected when they're shot. That is horrific. And yeah, they want to sort of say, oh, well, this is the, if gun, no, we don't know what would happen if everybody had guns. Would they have just gone for a mass shootout and not run away? I don't know. Would friendly fire have happened? I don't know. But these situations are confusing. And, like I said, at the end of it, there was a fist fight between civilians. I would not like to think that, if guns are involved, you almost saw one guy, he had to duck because the police took a shot at him thinking he was a perpetrator. Right? Like, can you imagine if everyone is armed at that point? And there was police there. I'm not sure if I showed it, but there was the guy that shot the father. he was an undercover cop. He didn't have any police badges or anything on him. He was an undercover. He was wearing plain clothes. So imagine if everybody has guns. I can't imagine it going very well. But one thing I do want to acknowledge is the incredible bravery and sacrifice of everybody that jumped in to help. Everybody that jumped in to help. And I don't know, there's something about Australia. People will do that. People will do that. I do that. I will jump in to help. You know, you see someone broken down, if you're not in a hurry, you stop and you say, hey, can I help you out? Can I push your car? You know, I've broken down and people have pushed my car. Well, I don't know. It's impossible to say, STS. I don't know. But, you know, I weigh up the deaths that have occurred in this situation with the possible deaths that occur from everybody having guns, and I cannot square that circle. You know, I just, after 30 years with you know, nothing happening, I cannot sort of say, well, this one terrorist attack happened, we should, you know, arm everybody with lethal weapons. I don't think it's a good idea. Plus, you know, some of those people are going to be radicalized Muslims. You know, if you say, hey, everyone can have a gun, I don't think it's a good idea. You know. So when we say give up our freedoms, what we're really, so what we're doing is we're relinquishing certain rights for the good of everybody, including ourselves. Including ourselves. I don't want to live in a country where everybody's got a gun. I don't want to live in that country. That's a scary proposition. And almost everybody agrees that is not a place we want to live. So, you know, it's not like we absolutely trust our government. It's that it is a reasonable thing to do for my fellow Australians. It protects them. It protects me. It is a good thing for everybody. And we have to stop thinking like individualistically. We've got to stop thinking about what I want, what's important to me, and start thinking collectively. What is good for society? What is good for humans? Like everybody. You know, Muslims shoot up a Jewish, you know, synagogue. You know, there's going to be repercussions on the Muslims. It's going to be a horror, and we don't need it. It's not like we trust our government. No. One of the big election things was greater accountability and a corruption commission, independent corruption commission. So, you know, it's not like we absolutely trust them. No. Resistance is futile. Okay, well, I will open up the panel because this is an open panel. I'm sorry, that rant went for a long time, but, you know, as far as the sort of gun debate, this will probably tighten our gun controls. There'll be inquiries and things like that. I don't know what the outcome of that will be. I'm heartbroken. I'm sad. I'm mortified. I am proud. I am proud that Australians are so bloody minded, belligerent that they'll rush in and stop people with guns. I'm proud of every single, having done surf lifesaving. I was a volunteer surf lifesaver. I am incredibly proud that the surf lifesavers on duty ran towards the shots and administered first aid. That, like one guy said, he had the equipment, he had the equipment, he had the skills. I don't know if you know this, but just in Australia, as a surf lifesaver, you are trained to deal with shark bites. Now, if you don't know, shark bites are horrific. They're horrific. Okay. They will sever arteries, they'll sever veins, they will, have a massive. There is nothing you can do for a shark bite except to tourniquet the limb. There's almost nothing you can do. They are brutal. And, you've got defibs, you've got, all the first aid gauze, stuff like that. You've got everything you need to deal with it. And, surf lifesavers ran in there. This is something, like, think about it. You have, like, Bondi Rescue or let's say, Baywatch kind of thing. And there's a shooting and the lifesavers run towards it. You would just go, oh, that's just, that's the movies. That's just, lifesavers wouldn't do that. Welcome to Australia. I'll just say that. Welcome to fucking Australia. And I could not be more proud. I could not be. Sorry, I'm just sort of give me 1 second. I just have to find the stream and do a like pin the link kind of thing. Happy to hear what you think. Happy for you to disagree with me. More than happy. That's fine. We can disagree. That's totally fine. I'm fine with that. Maybe you think that, hey, a whole bunch of guns could be beneficial. I don't know, but oh, thank you, Deviant. Yeah, no, I know, and I really appreciate it, Deviant. I'm so thankful of all of you. I no, that's not a. We learnt our lesson with the emus. Okay, we learnt our lesson with the emus. Pin the link on the stream. Yeah, absolutely. But I'm really impressed with everybody, and I love my fellow Australians, all of them. Whether they're Jews, whether they're Muslims, whether they're brown, black, white, anything. I feel like a lot of people will say, and I remember Andrew Wilson sort of said, "Oh, Australians, they've got no guns, they're not tough." I think historically Australians are tough as nails, and the thing about Australia is if you invade is prepared to deal with a bunch of very belligerent people, very, very belligerent Australians. The stream is in the link. It is in the chat. It is pinned. I might go on to AIMBOT. If you don't want to come on, that is totally cool. But it's open room season. Yeah. And, we learned our lessons with the emus. Yeah, I don't think that's the case. Like the thing is that if it's illegal to have machetes, then you can sort of when you arrest someone with machetes, you know they're not going to be using them for, gardening, mate. That's the thing. I bet you machetes are worth an awful lot of money in Victoria now. Just saying. That's the thing. It's odd because, people point this out. Oh, well, now only the criminals have the guns. Not true. People can still get a license for them. They're just regulated. Just saying, they can. So people that hunt and they have farms and stuff can still have them. These guys obviously could still have them. They had a license for hunting, so they can still get them. So that's not true. And now I looked up the cost of a handgun on the Australian black market, right? And it was like about 35,000, right? Like, it costs a ridiculous amount for black market guns. Yeah. So, yeah, anywhere between 15,000 and 40,000 US dollars. Don't arm the emus. Oh, baby. Look, there's only so much power in the world you can get. We don't want that. That is a power singularity that we just do not want going on. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Yeah, absolutely. I'm right with you, Deviant. He was an absolute hero, But don't forget about the Jewish people at the very start who saved lives as well and lost their lives for doing so. But and part of me doesn't want to do the grim calculus of two people dying versus how many they saved, but it is a thing, that they can be honored for who they saved. Don't arm the drop bears either. That's a problem. That is a problem. But I don't know if you want to hear more about Australia. I don't know where to go from here. Like I said, over the last couple of days, I've been absolutely heartbroken. This has been horrible. I really feel for everybody, and I want to share with you that Australians. Okay, we're weird. Okay, we're just weird. We seem really laid back and really and talking to people who have served with the Australians in the military, they go, they're just insane. They're just insane. Well, no, we just have a particular ethos of stubbornness and persistence, and just a inability to cave into people. I want to talk about the Australian military in World War II, because hopefully it would share some light on the Australian mentality. That Tobruk was the only or the best deep water port in Africa, and I might have to look up some of the details because I haven't looked it up for a while. But so basically, a deep water port would allow the Allies to move in logistics through North Africa, but the Germans wanted it because that would allow them to do the same. The Italians were sort of trounced by the English in Africa, So what they actually did was they sent in Rommel. And if you're unfamiliar with Rommel, he was the general who perfected something called the Blitzkrieg. The Blitzkrieg being the way that they got through Poland in a matter of days. They got through France within a week. It's basically lightning fast armor going. Now, the once the Italians had been routed, they put they left some artillery, and they put the Anzac forces in charge of defending Tobruk. And then came the Blitzkrieg from Rommel, and his basically his Panzer Afrika Corps, the German Afrika Corps, which had never been defeated, just an absolute menace all over Africa, mostly because of his tank tactics. Rommel was a menace, probably Hitler's best general, and an absolute menace to everyone. But he got stopped. They were supposed to, like, so Rommel thought he would take Tobruk within a couple of weeks. The 241 days later, yeah, they were supposed to hold out for 2 weeks. 241 days later, they had basically repelled Rommel. There's a whole load of history regarding this, a whole load of pride while doing this. The Rats of Tobruk are our most famous and most venerated unit. And the reason why they're called the Rats is because it was the Germans being derogatory towards them. They had got them besieged, so they were besieged on 3 sides by a bigger force with more tanks, vastly more tanks, more supplies, more everything, more men, more supplies, more tanks. And they sort of said they have them trapped like rats in a cave. And the Australians went, yes, we are rats. That's exactly what we are. And there's nothing more dangerous than a cornered rat. Essentially, what they did and what sort of played out was that, and Rommel in his diaries, I can't remember what he said, I'm paraphrasing, but he said, the Australians refused to accept that they were besieged. So what they were doing is they were sending men out in the middle of the night through minefields, mind you, through German minefields, and then attacking the frontal German trenches in hand-to-hand combat. So think about that. What they were doing is they were crawling on their bellies in the middle of the night through minefields to jump up when they got within about 30 meters or so, charging the trenches in silence, jumping in and killing all the Germans in hand-to-hand so they wouldn't alert any other Germans around. And they just kept doing it. Again and again and again and again. They didn't budge. They didn't break. They went out there. They got absolutely menacing. Rommel himself said the Australians were insanely tough. And he was the toughest and sort of hardest soldiers. But the thing is that everybody thought they were useless colonials. They had no discipline. They had no they absolutely severely underestimated the Australian mentality. You don't surround us on three sides. We just have a target-rich environment. On the front lines of Tobruk. So you're talking about a besieged garrison, right? A besieged garrison, limited food, limited ammo. Thing is that hand-to-hand doesn't require ammo. It doesn't require ammo. So, that worked out in their favor. So the Allied forces suffered approximately 6,000 casualties, and the Axis incurred about 12,000 casualties. So double the casualties. Right. I remember talking to a veteran when I was really young, actually. I was probably about, I don't know, 15, 16. Sitting down with one of the Anzac guys from Tobruk. And he was an old bugger, right? Like old, and he was so funny, and he had a great sense of humor. He told me about when they went out at night once. They encountered a minefield, and what they decided to do was dig up all the mines by hand at night and put them back, like replant them on a known German logistical supply route, so where their trucks went through to resupply. And he thought that was hilarious. And that story, it really encapsulates sort of the Australian mentality. It really does sum it up. That was hilarious to him. That they relocated those mines for them to run into them, themselves. There was a ton of things that helped. Obviously, they had British artillery. British artillery is amazing. It's better than it's incredible artillery, incredibly precise. They had some English tanks, but really it was just these guys hiding in caves, I might add. Like, they were literally hiding in caves. But what they realized is something that we know all too well. All too well. If you've got to exert yourself, you do it at night. You don't go out and exert yourself during the day. It's too hot. You do it at night. Lovely weather for exerting yourselves. And don't do what other people expect you to do. Oh, absolutely. No, it is really stupid. It is really stupid. But I guess a point of pride is that as a result of Tobruk and Alamein, because we attacked at Alamein, and so the General Montgomery knew where the strongest German position. There was only one choice for who was going to attack that, and that was the Australians. There's only one choice, because they are... people thought they were crazy. They weren't crazy. Absolutely not. Just incredibly aggressive, that's all. And, had a good sense of humor about it. It's a very Australian thing. It's how we cope with a lot of trauma is humor. And I agree. It's just, he had to pull a lot of troops. Rommel had to pull a lot of troops out from Greece to deal with this entire issue. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't the Australians all by themselves, but they were pivotal in the hold at Tobruk, which changed the war completely. And there was a ton of people from America, from Britain, from France. There's a ton of people that changed the course of the war. Absolutely. But that is the most famous war story from us, when the Australian 2nd Division just refused just wholeheartedly refused to let Rommel and his massive Africa Corps steamroll them. They just would not, and it reminds me a lot of Ukraine, where Ukraine was supposed to fall so fast and they just refused. And there's something really admirable to Australians about that. You don't fight to win. You fight because the fight is the right thing to do. Win or lose, it's the right thing to do. And I think that sort of in the climate of this win culture, like you've got to be a winner and there's losers, and we all know the politicians that say, oh, you're a loser and you're a this. I reject that notion. I reject it. If you fight a good fight and you lose, you're a winner. These two Jewish people, they saved lives. They fought a fort and they lost. They lost their lives, and my heart breaks for their families. But they are winners as far as I'm concerned. Anyone that struggles, anyone that keeps up that fight, and it's really hard. Life's hard. People that struggle through coping with depression and anxiety and all of these things, you're not a loser. You're not horrible. In my eyes, you are a battler. And in Australia, a battler is the best thing you can be. If you struggle onwards, you have my admiration. As long as the cause is right, as long as the reason why you're struggling is right, you have my admiration. Doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter if you win or you lose. If you're struggling for the right thing, then you're a winner as far as I'm concerned. And I don't give a shit. Like, oh, but they didn't do this. They didn't. I don't care. They fought for what is right. And that's all I care about. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit belligerent today. I'm a little bit heartbroken today. I'm a little bit proud today. I'm proud to be an Australian. I'm proud that people stepped up. I'm very proud today. I realize this might be a shorter one. I can't bring myself to do AIMBOT and laugh and do my usual show, so I do apologize. But yeah, and you're right. You're right. One by land too, but you're right. You're absolutely right. When you're compared, and it's it's like these sort of competition sports like boxing and things. It didn't used to be like this, that somebody's a loser and somebody's terrible if you. It used to be a respect of a competitor, a fellow competitor. On a different day, it might go a different way, but that's not today. Like I think, are we losing that? Are we losing that idea of respecting somebody even if you succeed and they don't? Are we losing that? Do we look down on that? I don't know, but I don't want to. I want to find people who are not, if some homeless person struggling, they're not a waste to me, and they shouldn't be a waste to the government. They shouldn't be any of those things. Ah, oh, Deviant, you are amazing. Skull. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm with the Viking spirit, capturing captives for, taking back to your, thing to do slaves is probably not what I'm on board with. But, modern Viking maybe. Techno Viking was pretty cool. Anyway, I'm sorry this was a shorter one. I might leave it there. I've had a kaleidoscope of feelings over the last couple of days. Just secondhand grief, secondhand mourning, pride, admiration, disdain for people blaming our gun reforms. This is the problem if nobody has. No. This is the problem if the wrong people get hold of guns, and the best way to do that is gun reform. which, you know, we'll have to see. It'll probably be tightened up a lot. I would imagine so. You know, I can't imagine this will not. Things have to change. And here's the thing. You can sort of go, well, you know, what if that doesn't work? What if this? What if that? You know, sometimes you've got to make a change and then see what happens. You know, like sometimes you've got to make changes, predict where they'll go, and hopefully they will be good. But doing nothing, this is what gets me about America. They have such a problem. Like the amount of suffering and death by firearms is out of control. Out of control. And they're right wing and the NRA and all of those people just say, we'll just add more guns. And they've been doing it for 50 years. And I think Einstein once said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. And I think that, you know, doing something else, just anything else, and seeing if it works better. You know, there's something to that. Even if it doesn't work, just try something new. You know, at this point, what have you got to lose? It's kind of this really terrible situation. And look, I'm not American. I'm not from that culture. I don't know the culture that well. So I can't say. It's just like, I just think that, you know, it doesn't have to be gun reform like Australia, right? You may have something else to do. It's do something else. Something else. You know, I don't know what that is, but just doing the same thing isn't working. Yeah, and the Brown U one. Yeah, no, I feel for those kids as well. And I did see that. I must admit, I did sort of, I was looking at Bondi. I kind of did tune out a bit from other news, but I did see that. And I think it was 2 students shot in that one, which is just terrible. It's just kids at a university. I mean, oh boy, it's just horrendous. You know, they've just got the start of their life in front of them. It's horrible. And but what really made me upset was that I saw a video of some of the students, and the cops sort of, you know, came in the door and they knew to put their hands up already. Like they didn't even have to be told. It was just so heartbreaking that these kids, they know that if they don't put their hands up, the police may shoot. Like, just awful, just awful. But you know that they're so used to it. And apparently there was somebody in it who survived another school shooting. Like, I can't imagine surviving one, much less surviving two. It's just incredible. It's just incredible. Yeah. You abolished slavery in 1335. You know what, Deviant? I would love to visit Sweden. I think I will freeze my knackers off, but I would love to visit Sweden. I really would. I love Swedish people. They're awesome. Absolutely awesome. That's something I would love. Yes, students in the US do active shooter drills. Yes. Yes. That's one of the things that makes me sad is kids in primary school learning how to duck under their desks if there's an active shooter so they're not shot is just heartbreaking. Kevlar backpacks for children is heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. But, you know, no life is just, you know, yeah, and how many lives is your car worth? 100? 1,000? How many lives is your car worth? You know, you've got it insured. How many lives is that worth? 3? Oh, I must admit I'm not up to date on that one. I do apologize. It isn't like I don't care about it. It's just, Bondi was a lot closer to home, and I do apologize, but that's the way it was. And I yeah, like I get you. I don't know what America's supposed to do about their problem, but it's a problem, and something's got to change because, you know, I mean, seriously. Do you want to know the statistics of death by firearms in the US? Like, do you care about that? 2023, it was 47,000 people died by firearms. Now that's probably suicide and homicide, but that is insane. 8 and 10 murders, 17,927 per murders with firearms. And it has dipped a bit, but yeah. Well, I didn't do lockdown drills in my school. I'm not aware that my nieces and nephews did. So, um, but they're not the same as an active shooter drill, right? Like they're sort of more for any range of things. Like per capita, sure. Um, so 13.7 per 100,000 people. Just looking for a list. Um, I'm trying to get. I think the last I've got is 2023. I think I'm going to look for something a bit more recent, but yeah, I'm just looking for um, world thing. A Wikipedia should be fine. Should be fine. In comparison, Australia was 0.103. Oh, that's homicide. Yeah, okay, gotcha. That's homicide. So, um, America is something like 4.054 per 100,000 people. Australia is Australia is 0.103. No, I am. No, it's per capita, per 100,000 people. Per 100,000 people, it's per capita. You don't have to divide by anything. It's already divided. So it is almost 40 times the rate in Australia. 40 times the rate in Australia. 40 per 100,000 people. So that's per capita. Yeah, so America has a problem, right? Like if you told me the rate of death via heart attack in Australia was 40 times the per capita rate in America, I would have problems. That would be a problem, right? Like that would be a major problem. We would absolutely want to do something about that. But, you know, we're talking about a rate via gun of 40 times. And that's just the homicide. That doesn't even include the suicides and stuff. Right? Doesn't include that. That's just homicides. It's insane. Yeah, that's why it's so important, Andrew. And I hear you, mate. I absolutely hear you. I know, man. And you know, but we can't live our lives in fear. I'm certainly not going to live my life in fear. Um, all we can do is talk about it, and it makes me sad because there's no like I've often looked for gun debates, you know, online. Let's talk about it. Let's have a debate about it. Like, do gun control does gun control work? Is it a thing? Is it, you know, is it worth it? But nobody wants to have a gun control debate, and I wonder why. The NRA kind of silences any kind of research into it. They don't like it. And you know, Americans don't want to debate it. I think it's because they know that it's a monster problem. But who knows? Anyway, we'll have to see how the Albanese government reacts. I'm certainly going to be interested. I'll probably give you an update next week over what they're doing and any more information that I find. But yeah, thank you for indulging me, everyone. This was sort of self-indulgence. It really was me ranting about something that has been on my mind for the last couple of days and has saddened me. I'm going to be okay. And I hope you're going to be okay, and I hope everyone's going to be okay. You know, it seems like such a waste of potential. Yeah, that's right, Andrew. And you know what brings up an important point. Like America has a lot more population, but even if you do it per capita, it's still unreasonably high. You know, unreasonably high. So you know, that's a problem. But hopefully we can talk about it. We can discuss it. We can, you know, I feel like it should be harder to get a gun than it is to get a car and drive on the road. That just, you know, I feel like one is a lot more dangerous than the other. I mean, not that a car isn't dangerous, but, you know, I feel like one does not have any purpose outside of hurting people. Yeah, I'm so sorry to hear that, Andrew. I can't imagine. So yeah, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry to hear that. You shouldn't. That's horrendous. That's horrendous. Wow. Okay. I've heard that black bears are kind of pussies, though. Like they, you know, what is it? If the bear is black fight back, brown lay down, and white good night. Like, you're supposed to fight a black bear because they're kind of cowardly. You're supposed to lay down for a brown bear because a grizzly bear will just maul you, and the only hope you've got is that they just leave you alone afterwards. And a polar bear, because of the lack of food around, they will just eat you and there's nothing you can do. Like, they're just, ridiculously dangerous. Yeah, okay. Well, I'm going to call it here. Thank you so much for listening, everybody, and indulging me. I do feel better, if that's any consolation to you. I do feel better having talked to you and sort of expressed my feelings on the matter. I don't know. It's a whirlpool of emotion at the moment because it's just, I'm just so damn proud of these Australians. I am so proud to be an Australian. Even more proud than you see when an Australian, to save his dogger, punches a kangaroo, right? That's a point of pride. Some guy has his dog being attacked by a kangaroo and he goes over and fisticuffs it right in the snout. That was a bit of pride. This is a special country full of special people, and I am privileged to be a part of it. I am privileged to do what I can to promote it, and I am privileged to have all of you to talk to. So thank you so much, everybody. Don't forget, be kind to yourself, and damn, be kind to others. You're not going to change people's minds or make any meaningful change by just attacking helpless people. Damn, stop. And that's everybody, stop. Like, I understand there's war, I understand there's soldiers, just stop it with the civilians. They're just trying to live. They're just trying to give food to their kids and, have some modicum of a life. Just stop it. It's just ridiculous. They're not any danger to you. It's ridiculous. Anyway, take care, lots of love, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.